Hello everyone, welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. We took a little pause last week and we are back, all guns firing, looking ahead to Group 1 action this weekend at Newmarket. Friday and Saturday we're going to look at. We'll start with Saturday and then we'll give a cursory glance to Friday's card as well, with a couple of group races in there. We'll kick off with the Cambridgeshire as well, which is the feature handicap of the weekend, before getting stuck into the group racing for the juveniles. Newmarket dedicated we are. I'm joined by podcast regular Sam Turner and making her debut, Adele Mulrennan. Adele, it's great to have you on board. You've recently been added to a list of the ITV pundits, so well done for that. I take it you're really enjoying that stint.
I'm really enjoying it. It's been a big learning curve, but I'm certainly enjoying it. And you'll remember taking part in my media training. I came down and learned from you, learning from the vest down at Racing TV. So look where I've gone. So thank you for all your help.
Yeah, that was desperate. It was what do you? I had literally no idea what to do or say other than sit here, talk, but look, you've flown ever since, so no problem.
I mean, all power to Adele, really. How she's managed to overcome that, troubled career beginning to blossom to what she has now. So yeah, all credit to Adele.
The worst possible was, I think, on your opening show debut, didn't you put up the first and second in the big handicap?
I did, yeah. Because you have to be a little bit bullish sometimes on what you've picked. So I had to make sure I got in the main one I picked, which was a big each way bet, and it finished second. So that was really good. And at York, I had I think all three of mine picks won on second day of the York Ebor Festival. So they've been going okay. So I'm not doing too bad.
No pressure.
Fingers crossed I pick some tonight as well.
Most importantly, how is Paul coping with being the second biggest name in the house? Is he all right?
Oh, Paul's honestly, he's getting so much stick. It's unbelievable. But he's really proud, bless him. He keeps sending me text messages saying how proud he is. So it's really sweet.
Great stuff. Sam, you need no introduction, but I do, because there will be regular watchers out there thinking what's happened to the Jota Wool shirt. And it's no more. And that's a far prettier picture. The Spaniel's made it onto the wall.
Yeah, I've replaced a terrier with the Spaniel. And he's dead to me now. He's gone to Liverpool. Sorry, Diogo, you've gone.
Yeah, quite right too. Quite right. He said, yes.
Get one chance in this house, Tom. One chance. When you start kissing the badge, you've had it.
Cross Sam and that's it. Right, let's get stuck into the race preview. So we're going to have 6 races. We're going to have 4 races on Saturday afternoon. If you're looking for the Friday action, it's going to be towards the end of the pod. It will be a quick look ahead to Friday, and we'll probably talk about the weather a bit as well, because it could take a bit of a turn for the worse. But first of all, the feature on Saturday afternoon is the Cambridgeshire, over the 9 furlongs, of course. First thing to say, I suppose, before I get stuck into some of those prices, we haven't got a full field, Sam, which...
Yeah, that's the first time I can ever remember there not being almost 100 entries for the Cambridgeshire, to be honest. But that might have something to do with the fact there's no silver Cambridgeshire this year. So we were just left with 40 really at the 5-day stage, which, given that 1 or 2 were going elsewhere anyway. I mean, you can see that horse at the bottom of the weights of Andrew Balding's Get In. With Wild Hero, he never looked to have a chance in a normal year, probably, and yet he's in there sneaking in at the bottom off 8 stone, and at least it gives 1 or 2 of the lightweights a bit of a chance, which hasn't always been the case in past years, really.
Where are you looking, Sam? Towards the top of the market at the moment? We had a little chat about this this morning on your Odds Backers podcast. Oh. I was sort of musing that I was surprised that Tempest wasn't clear favourite. I mean, looking at it now, they're sort of vying for favouritism, both around the 7.5 mark, Tempest and Sinjari. Whereabouts are you looking?
Well, I can't believe you've come to me first. You've got the forecast queen, sat on the podcast. You've got the 1, 2 and these big handicaps, and you come into a dummy like me. Well, I think it's a terrific race if it's tight, because we've got a good mix of, 1 or 2 progressive 3-year-olds, the like of Ilarab. King Carney's an interesting horse that, and Al Ruffa. There's some really nice 3-year-olds like Lucanda as well lurking in there, and some lightly raced and progressive 4-year-olds as well, of which Tempest certainly fits that criteria. And I must admit, he was the one that I looked at the shorter end of the market that I thought, he's got a very progressive profile. They were already talking about the Cambridgeshire early on in the season with him. He's by Kingman. There was a little bit of a query over the 9 furlongs on a stiffish track suiting him ideally, but I think the way that he just galloped on remorselessly at Ascot, under a hand ride suggested that there was a fair bit left in the tank at the line. And, you know, I know supporters of Walhan will suggest that they were closing a little bit at the line and he wasn't knocked about either. But I do think at the front end of the market, given where he's drawn as well, high, there looks a little bit more pace middle to high, whereas Sinjari might just be isolated a little bit over on that far side rail with a few hold-up horses alongside him. So he would probably be my preference at the head of the market, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned the pace there. It is definitely middle to high. The horse I fancy is a pace angle probably over towards the lower numbers over the far side, but we'll come to that. Adele, do you have any sort of hard and fast rules about the width of the Newmarket track where you might want to be drawn, or do you tend to just look where the pace is?
I was talking to Paul because he was riding down at Newmarket today, and he was saying, you know, it's just a cavalry charge. It's just straight up, and it's usually wherever the pace angle is. In these heritage handicaps, I mean, the good thing about them is that you get loads of value, each way value, which is what I like to look for. I usually kind of pick one at the top end of the market and then look for something with a bit of each way value. But Sinjari is one that I quite like, who won the John Smith's Cup, who's only had one start this season. The form's worked out really well. Paul won on a horse called Yukon Glen. He won the Old Borough Cup, so he's come out of the race. And then Certain Lad as well has gone on to win the Sky Bet and Symphony Strengthful Stakes. That was a Group 3. So I always kind of look for horses where, okay, they've only had the one run, but I kind of look to see what forms come out of them kind of races. So Sinjari's top of my list. The one in the shorter price, the betting, but each way on Tatham, I think, is massively overpriced. He won a heritage handicap at York, so I kind of quite like his form as well. He's won 3 of his 5 starts this season and second on the other 2, so he's certainly one I would put forward who was going to run a big race for his money. You know, he's never out of the frame, so each way price, and I think he's around about 16 to 1.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The team are in fine form. Jim Crowley's had a fantastic season, so I couldn't see why he couldn't run a big race at a big price. Jim
Crowley has had the most incredible season.
Yeah, fantastic.
And it's just something's clicked for the owner with regard to the horses across the board they've got, and Jim Crowley is absolutely flying at the moment. Around about 17.0 and then in the place market as well. That's Adele's suggesting that's how she would play that. Is drawn to that horse. I'm going to come to my selection, which is King Carney, who's drawn 9. Charlie Fellows says there's every chance that the horse will run really well as long as there's a lot of rain, and there is rain forecast. So I think the ground was changed to good to soft in places. The times at Newmarket today have been, indicating probably good ground.
Good ground, yeah.
I spoke to Paul. He rode there today. He said he thought it was just slightly on the slow side of good, but he said it was overall it was good ground.
The going allowance certainly suggests that.
Yeah. There's a lot of it's so difficult because we're doing this Thursday, sort of late Thursday afternoon. There is a lot of rain possibly going to come tomorrow. And sometimes I suppose, Adele, you've just got to make a decision if you want to get on board early and try and beat the market. And I'm hoping that, taking 26.0 about King Carney now is going to look a good move when all that rain comes and he shortens up, because he's the type of profile that will shorten up if they're racing on good to soft ground by the time of the race. But I'm taking a bit of a punt that the rain is going to come, I suppose.
That's all you can do, especially at this time, Thursday, late afternoon. And you just have to hope that, well, fingers crossed, maybe they do get a bit of rain tomorrow. But I have had a look at the forecast, and it is forecast all day, whether they get it or not. So it could get in there. So it is taking a chance tonight and hopefully getting a better price. And if the rain comes tomorrow, then you've made the right decision.
He is one of the possible pace angles far side. I quite like it as a track. I backed Beringer last year on the view that I knew he was going to go forward, and he was obviously second to Lord North. But I still quite like to play on the speed at the track, and I like his chances. He was gelded before he made his reappearance run. The form ties in with Tempest. He's £6 better off with that horse. So I thought he was the overpriced one in the race. Sam, did you have one at a bigger price?
Yeah, I really like anything today. Drawn with loads of pace in and around. King Carney in 9, Zhu Feng in 15. He's got pace either side of him. One or two others that might go forward as well. Data Protection in close proximity. He's a horse that's travelled to the head of affairs in 2 very strongly run handicaps. Obviously, the 2 of them both at York over the extended 10.5 furlongs, and that's just caught him out, I think. There is a proviso with this horse that he's a little bit of a weak finisher, admittedly, but I do like the fact that he's stepping back in trip here. It's a big field handicap. He'll be able to bury away. And I just wonder whether Callum Rodriguez has quite got it right on him in his last 2 starts. He's just hit the front a bit too soon. There's been nothing that's been able to carry him where he's raced on the track deeper into the race. So that shouldn't be the case with this race. There looks plenty of quality in here. He should be able to just keep on the bridle for as long as possible, use his high cruising speed, and then hopefully run a big race and at least fill the frame at a price. So Ben Curtis takes over here. As I said, there's plenty of pace, middle to high, with the likes of Data Protection, and Zhu Feng close proximity. So he should get plenty of cover and a good toe into the race. So he would be the one for me at sort of, 33, 40, something along those lines.
Yeah, I reckon you might be able to price up into the 30s and possibly 40s as well on the day with that horse for a man in flying form. And also, I know the horse moved from David O'Mara's, Adele, but Roger, he's yet to get a win into the horse, Roger Fell. But he's a man that whenever a horse moves there, for me, it's just a waiting game until he gets a win out of him. So it'd be a nice race for him to do it in.
Roger does really well with those kind of horses, and he trains in David O'Mara's old yard, and it's great for kind of older horses and for freshening them up. And Ben Curtis gets on really well with his horses because he just fills them up and fills them with loads of confidence. I was talking to Ben Curtis today at Pontefract. He's got some nice rides over the next couple of days, but he said he was looking forward to riding him. He said it was one of the horses over the next couple of days that he was most looking forward to riding. So maybe a bit of a tip in itself.
The stable have been a bit quiet as well the last, 3 or 4, 5, 6 weeks. But
they had a winner too yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Okay.
2 at Redcar, and then Admiralty who ran really well in the Silver Cup last week. So there's some green shoots of recovery there.
Yeah, no, Roger's horses, they kind of do come good at this time of year because they do usually don't mind a cut in the ground as well. So if the rain comes tomorrow, hopefully might suit.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing yard-wise as well. Charlie Fellows has been a bit quiet, and then he banged in one at Newmarket today, so I was pleased to see that. So, then, anything else to add to the Cambridgeshire, or should we move on?
Move on.
Good.
Move on, yeah.
Done. Some big prices for you in the Cambridgeshire. We'll do some best bets at the end of Saturday as well, and then for Friday as well if we have them. We'll move on and go back to the first of the juvenile group races. The Royal Lodge. This isn't personally one that I have a very strong opinion on. It's not one I can envisage having a bet in as yet. But Sam Turner, kick us off.
I'm a little bit the same, Tom, if I'm honest. It's a race that I've seen. Obviously, Frankie Dettori had been booked for New Mandate, and he would probably be my token selection in the race. I really liked his performance at Doncaster. He was burrowing away under Frankie over on that far side rail. Just got up to beat Ladakash, and I thought that was a really brave performance. He put his experience from his sort of battling performance at Sandown to good use and managed to get up on the line there. I love the way that he just stretched out the last 100 yards. So stepping up to a mile on the stiffer track should be ideal. I don't know whether he'd want a deluge. I can't see the ground being that bad personally. I must admit, I thought it would ride a good bit softer today, but I think it's drying out already. So I think on the easy side of good should be okay for him. I don't think the going allowance was too quick at Doncaster. So, fingers crossed he runs okay. It was a trappy little race for me. And in a small field tactical affair, I'd rather have Dettori on side, I think. Yeah,
fair enough. With the New Mandate, who's around about the 4.5 mark at the moment, off the back of that good win at Donny last time. I was half inclined to have a go at Ontario with a view that it might be trapping and he might go forward. And Ryan Moore, at this meeting, he tends to find the right part of the track for all the stalls are in the centre for the day, and on the front end can be very dangerous. But I'm not sure I can commit at 4.5 and what's a tight little heat. What about you, Adele?
I quite liked Ontario as well, but I do like Gear Up of Mark Johnson's. I was there at York, so he won on debut despite being quite green, and he got loose, galloped half of the track, which is not like one of Matt Johnson's horses. They're usually, true professionals, and we kind of thought he'd thrown the race away prior to the race, but he ended up winning anyway. But he's got a really smart attitude, and for one of Matt Johnson's, he can be quite slow away because usually they kind of jump and they bang up there in the van because he likes them to be up the front, but it can be a little bit slow away. It's like as if he's still learning a lot, and he's got a really nice attitude, and he does his best work at the end. But he was even better last time out, so he's had both wins at York, which he won both of them quite impressively, and I still think there's a lot more to come from him.
I love it that you're saying that he likes him to have him up near the front, because whenever I ask him, so Mark, will this horse be ridden prominently? Because they normally like to be, he always says, no, I let the jockey decide.
So his motto is always trying. That's like, that was always written on the back of the horse box. And I always find with Mark Johnson's horses that he doesn't like any excuses. You know, he doesn't want to hear this, you know, there was no pace in the race, or, you know, I got blocked in. And I always think that he wants them in a winning position. So that's usually right up in the van. And if they're good enough, they'll win. If they stay, you know, if they stay the trip and they're good enough, they'll win. So I always think his horses are always up there in the van because they're always trying, and they're, you know, in a winning. He wants them in a winning position.
Freddie Norton taking over from Sylvester de Souza on that horse, around about 4.5, similar sort of price to Ontario. It's Cobe that heads the betting at about a point shorter than that. I'm going to be a fence sitter personally, but Gear Up and New Mandate for the team at similar sorts of prices. Let's kick on to the 225, which is the first of the Group 1s for the juveniles. That's the Cheveley Park. And Adele, go on, you can lead us off with this. You've got Dandala at 4.0, half a point bigger for Ken Condon's filly Miss Amulet. Happy Romance around about 6.0, Sacred 7.0, and then into the slightly bigger prices. Where are you looking?
Oh, well, I love Dandala. She's been one of my favourite fillies this season. I spoke to Ben Curtis today, and he said she's the best filly in the race. Because I said, you know, main fears, and he said nothing. She's the best filly. The only little thing with her is that Carl Burke's really quiet. He's only had one winner in 2 weeks, which is the only thing that puts me off. But she's been a model of consistency this season. You know, she's won all 3 of her starts. You couldn't really have asked for better performances from her, especially in the Albany. That is my only little downfall, is that Carl Burke's only had one winner in 2 weeks, which usually he's, you know, banging in winners left, right and centre. Especially at the Ayr Western meeting, he didn't even have one, which is not like his stable.
And not only that, the winner came right 2 weeks ago. So he played 13 days of nothing. And I hadn't looked at his recent form. It hadn't really been on my mind that he wasn't in great nick. And I was writing to somebody about it earlier on WhatsApp, and they said, cars are a bit quiet. And sometimes I don't pay attention to that, but then it can depend on the yard. And it is a bit of a worry, because I thought her price, 4.0, I thought she's a bet. She's the best filly.
Yeah. By far, I think she's the best filly in the race, definitely. That is the only, if you were kind of looking for something of a bit of a negative, that is your only negative. You know, if he'd had 5-6 winners in the last couple of weeks, or you wouldn't even be thinking about any negatives. She'd be the one in the race, but that is the only downfall.
So does that temper? So she's 4.0 at the moment. She's favourite by half a point. But would that temper your enthusiasm at the prices? And is there a price she'd have to get to for you to have a go at her, or would you still be confident enough to have a little go even at the yard a bit more?
No, I'd still be confident at that, especially after talking to Ben. And he gets on so well with her as well, and they think a mass of her. But I did have a little chat with Paul Hannigan, who rides Uncoltham, just at the pricings. Obviously, just if you're looking for something with a little bit more value. But I was just talking to him about her, because obviously she's been in good form this year. She won up at Ayr last week, so it was only 7 days ago. But he said that she's been quite slowly away, and she's still been quite green. And usually, the only thing you can do with juveniles like that is to just run them. So I wouldn't take it too disheartening that she only ran 7 days ago. Fillies like her, he said she's a little bit nervy, so sometimes they just need to run just to get that racing experience, and it kind of helps them just kind of settle into the racing a little bit more. But he thinks there's massive more to come from her.
Yeah, she's around about 8.0. She saw a bit of daylight last time and got an early bump, and I thought she did well to win. She was well to the line. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting race. I mean, we haven't mentioned Happy Romance, who just keeps confounding those who look to take her on week. Really durable filly, very likeable filly, just a winning machine. There's won incredible amounts of prize money. The likes of Sacred, who's been to plenty of these sort of parties all season long. But I'm going to go with the Irish Raider, I think. Just Miss Amulet, because I just love the way she stretched out at Adele's beloved York last time in the last 100 yards. Sacred came to have a little bit of a chip at her, and she just kept running all the way to the line and was extending at the line. Saw the 6 out really well. I think this stiff 6 again can bring about a little bit more improvement from her. So I expect with Ryan Moore on board that she'll be on the premises, on the scene. I think she'll be a token bet for me in a race I'm probably looking forward to watching more than playing in.
Yeah, fair enough. She's 4.5, so second favourite in there. I'm still with Dandala, but the stake might be tempered, just as Adele says, by where the yard are at the moment. It might be absolutely nothing, but I think she's the best in the race, and if it does go soft, she will have no problem with that at all. The next Group 1 is again the 6 furlong for the colts. This is the Middle Park, and I think this is I mean, obviously it's a deep race because it's a Group 1, but I was going down the list and I was all out to say, right, Minzal after that performance last time, and then I could find about 2 or 3 others that I was interested in backing. So there you go. Sam, kick us off. Are you very much in Minzal's corner?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this. I think this is a really difficult race because there's lots of quality on offer. I do like Minzal because I think he could be exceptional. I'm not knocking Method's performance in that listed contest at Newbury. I thought that was perfectly satisfactory and very emphatic and dominant at the line. But just the way that Minzal moved through that race at York, I still think he's learning on the job as well. He was slowly away. He did things a little bit the wrong way round. But cool, he showed that blistering change of gear, which I think just marks out a quality horse from a very good one. I really do like the way that he moved through the race. I am a bit of a sucker for these strong travelly types, and he just looked all class to me. A bit like Alchemate last year and last week in the same colours, just a horse with a high cruising speed who's got the ability to change gear. So, yet again, this will be a little bit of a sit on the fence for me. I don't think I can back him at 11-4, but I'd hope to see him win. And drawn 8, I wonder whether he'll edge towards the stand side rail. The only thing that would dent a bit of confidence would be a bit of a deluge, which might just blunt his turn of foot because he is so potent off a sound surface. But hopefully he can continue a pretty decent year for Owen Burrows here.
I was going to ask you who you think's better out of Alchemate and Minzal.
Alchemate.
Interesting. I agree, but you think Minzal's good enough to take this, so there you go.
Yeah, I think Alchemate's a real deal, and I think Minzal might well be. I still think he's improving and progressing, and what he did at Salisbury compared to what he did at York with chalk and cheese. But he's beat both sets of adversaries with equal emphatic measure. So I think he's a real talented individual.
One thing that's different this year, I'm sure, compared to last year, and perhaps the previous year as well. I think we had it with the Dewhurst certainly a couple of years ago, because Ryan Moore and Lydia Hislop had that standoff interview about whether he wanted to race up the rail, and he pretended he didn't know what she was talking about, but clearly did. It is last year, it seemed like you wanted to be on the rail, but the stalls are in the centre this time, Adele. So there's, you've got that big Newmarket straight for these juveniles to contest with. And if one of them wants a rail, they're going to have to make a move.
Yeah, exactly. So it's which side you want to go at. It obviously does help with a juvenile to have a rail to run against. So that's why sometimes when you see them kind of 2 furlongs out, they kind of edge towards whichever side they're at. But obviously the fastest way to win a race is to go straight forwards. So that's what they're going to probably mainly aim to do. Without a doubt, Minzal was impressive at York. I thought his performance was very smart. Looked fantastic in the parade ring prior to that as well. But one of the horses I quite like, just in case if the rain does come tomorrow, Lucky Vega, who is by Lope de Vega, so won't mind any kind of cut in the ground. The heavens could open up tomorrow for that horse, and I don't think he'll mind at all. So he's won twice over 6 furlongs, and his latest win was a Group 1 in Ireland. And then was stepped up to 7 furlongs next time out, which I presume maybe just stretches stamina very slightly. So I just thought he was a little bit interesting. I just thought if he could put up a performance of winning the Group 1 in Ireland, I thought he's won at the pricings for just a little bit more better value.
I very much agree with you, Adele. Didn't you put this horse up last time, Sam? Is that am I wrong?
Yes, I did.
Oh no! See, that's what happens when you change your mind.
But he got no run, didn't he, Sam? And he I think probably found him out a bit, but he had a wall in front of him. Chance.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if he bounced back, given my record at selecting horses, which then go on and win next time without me on them. So it's the fail-safe system, unfortunately.
Being ahead of the game doesn't make you rich, Sam. That's the problem.
No, just premature.
Yeah,
We'll leave that there.
Indeed. Yeah, I think he's a great bet at 5.0, 5.5 maybe. He's a Group 1 winner and he's the top.
Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah, he's a Group 1 winner. So you can't, if he puts up the same performance of that, I can't see why he wouldn't be able to win.
Yeah, and the Learjet form, he's beaten him 3.5 lengths in Ireland and comfortably, and he's handled yielding ground before. But I think there's going to be a bit soft in the going description. That's what I'm working on anyway. Jessica Harrington sent her filly over to win the Cheveley part last year. I think he's a 5.0. I think he's a great bet. I'm a huge fan of Minzard. It was just at the prices I was surprised he was sort of fourth in the betting. So that's where I am. Anything else to add to the middle park?
Not essentially, no. Although it has been a bit of a race for shocks, hasn't it, recently?
Yeah. Except for it was Earthlight last year, wasn't it? And then
and 10 Sovereigns the year before, but 25 to 1, 20 to 1, 10 to 1, all in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Maybe we're due a big one. But you've got a field of 8 going, so it might be worth looking at the place markets just if anything tickles your fancy at a slightly bigger price. Let's kick on to best bets then for Saturday. Kick us off, Adele, just in case Sam or I nick your best bet. So here's your best bet on Saturday afternoon.
Can I go for anywhere on Saturday?
Yep. What I love is when we preview all the group racing and the big handicaps, and then we go, I've got one at Chelmsford. So please do. This is your best bet anywhere you like.
Okay.
In the UK.
Guess where I'm going. It's going to be in Yorkshire, of course. My local track, Ripon. It's about literally 5 minutes from my house. So I'm going to Ripon. And there's a horse running there called Super Calanistic, who has won 3 races over hurdles. So Tom Queeley's only got 1 ride on Saturday and he's coming up to Ripon. He would usually stay at my house, but of course it's not allowed now. So he would usually come and stay with us, but he's just got 1 ride there. He's had one start on the flat and 1 at Chepstow. So he's 7 years old, but of course he's still able to run in a novice race. So I just thought he was an interesting one. Not sure what price he'll be yet. Would you be able to have a look to see what price maybe would be?
Yeah, which race are we talking, Adele?
He runs in the last race at 5:10 at Ripon.
Okay, no market as yet.
No,
but looking at it's a decent size. It's a decent size field. So hopefully for Nigel, this is, isn't it? Tom Queeley for Nigel Davis. Yeah. Hopefully would you expect the horse to head the betting?
I'm not sure. I thought he would be in the top 3 in the betting. I was kind of hoping he wouldn't be favourite because he has got top weight with 10 stone 2, and there's a couple of course 4-year-olds that are unexposed that I thought might squeak just ahead of him.
I would say the Beckett horse will probably be favourite. I would think. First time I looked at the race, but Jacinta de Vega, I would think she was second in a half decent race, and Hugo's got 1 unraced in there, so it might be third in.
Well,
I was thinking it might be in the top 3 in the betting, so third in, it's fine.
There you go, Super Calanistic in the 5:10 at Ripon at the local track. Sam, your local track on Saturday afternoon.
I haven't even had a chance to. I don't know where it would be local to me on Saturday. To be honest, I suppose Haydock would be near enough the closest. I'll go for anything today. Decent place, probably 60% place, 40% win in the Cambridgeshire.
Okay, that's anything today, a big old price, hopefully into the 30s. And I will go for Lucky Vega, being very boring in the middle park. Red October, incidentally, is the horse that we managed to find on here a few weeks ago, and is back at Chelmsford, the scene of that last success. There's not a market yet. He was really disappointing last time, but if he was into double figures, I would be interested back on the all-weather. So it's just worth bearing in mind. But there are a few other pace angles in the race. So he's in the tracker.
That's great work managing to engineer that you tipped that horse to win 2 or 3 weeks ago into this week's podcast. That's brilliant work.
Is that after timing? Is that
hashtag? No, not really. I mean, to be fair, you were very sweet on it, weren't you, that day? So you were allowed 1 mention of it.
Still feel I will never mention it again, but I'll be looking out for what price the horse is. But Lucky Vega for me in the in the middle park. Right, Friday. We're going to look at two races for you on Friday. The 3 o'clock, the 3:35. We'll kick off with the Rockfel. Monday is a relatively warm order towards the top of the betting, round about the 2.25 mark. Isabella Giles is round about 3.0, 6.0. Then we get stuck into the double figures. Go on, Sam. Kick us off.
I haven't seen a lot of Monday. I have to go back and look at her race because I didn't see it the first time at Leopardstown. I liked it. She went off 12-1. Thought she was fairly workmanlike, if I'm honest. But look, saw the trip out really well, and you have to respect the horses coming over, given the breeding, given the quality of connections. But she doesn't really excite me, I must admit, at 6-4 in a race of this nature. She might well improve a good bit, but I was taken with Isabella Giles at Goodwood. I thought she was really professional. She coped with the cutting ground really well, and she had the race won from a long way out, that Group 3. But I'm going to take a bit of a flyer at a big price with hopefully a double figure pick in Alba Rose, who is very well related to Subjectivist, races in the same colours, Sir Ron Priestley as well. So she's going to get a trip as a 3-year-old very strongly. If it does turn into a little bit of a slogfest and a stamina test, then I think she's a little bit overpriced at 12.0 or bigger. I was quite taken with her at Thirsk last time. She travelled up very strongly, put the race to bed in a matter of moments, and was very strong at the line, pricking her ears. So I think there's a good bit more to come from her. I don't think she deserves to be double figures. I don't see a lot of difference. Yes, I see Isabella Giles deserving to be favourite, but I wonder whether Monday, I know she's won a listed race, but she's a little bit priced up on connections. So I'll take a little bit of a chance at a big price that a novice winner at Thirsk can step into group company and make her presence felt.
She's floating around about 12.0 at the moment, and you know, given her profile, as you say, with some all towards the top of the betting, you might get bigger than that tomorrow afternoon as well. And the mount of Joe Fanning, who, I mean, I knew that Joe was no spring chicken, but the man's 50 years old, and he's.
I wished him happy birthday today over the PA system at Pontefract.
Was he appreciative of that?
He honestly, Joe Fanning, right? He's a gentleman. He really is, and he's one of those jockeys that just goes under the radar. He has no social media. He's very quiet, but everyone in the weighing room, and I mean everyone, the younger generation, the older generation, have so much respect for Joe Fanning because he's just an utter gentleman. He's such a nice guy, and do you know what? He's a fantastic rider. I love backing Joe because he rides them with such confidence, and he kind of is able, without being too aggressive, to squeeze like every ounce out of a horse. I think he's a class rider, Joe, and he gets on really well with Mark Johnson's horses. 50 today. He had his first winner over hurdles. Did you know that?
Did he?
No.
Yeah, first winner over hurdles. I wouldn't have thought that at all. I couldn't imagine him going over any jumps.
he's not the biggest. You know, he's 50 and still one of the slighter ones, isn't he?
Yeah, he's only small, Joe, but he's such a nice guy, and
he drives himself everywhere. Doesn't he?
Sorry?
Drives himself everywhere, doesn't he?
Oh, he drives everywhere, yeah, and he would constantly give the younger lads a lift if they needed, and he's just one of those guys that if you want any advice, everyone goes to Joe. He's a lovely guy.
He is a top man, and he's just riding out of his skin at the moment. Very best of luck to him on Isabella Giles. Adele, are you with the birthday man, or are you looking elsewhere?
Well, I do like Alba Rose. I've picked two. I mean, Isabella Giles. So if the rain came, because she's actually only won with soft in the description. So she is one to note. But Monday, I just thought, I mean, she shed a maiden tag in a listed race, €100,000 listed race. So that was really impressive. So I can see why she is ahead of the market, given her connections as well. But I am going to agree with Sam because Alba Rose, she was really smart at Thirsk. I was there that day. She's a nice, strong, imposing type. Of course, if she follows on in her family's footsteps, she's got a nice, bright future ahead of her. Mark Johnson does, he does this with his fillies, so we'll chuck them in at a deep end, and more than likely they usually cope. And I thought she was massively overpriced as well. I think she was last in the betting when I last looked. And I just think she stays the trip really well. When you watch her gallop, she gallops all the way through the line. She never once looks like she's kind of half not going to get there. she relishes the trip, and especially next year when she steps up in trip, I think she'll be even better. But massively overpriced, I think, her.
Yeah, she's a big old price. I am going against Monday as well. I'm worried that Ryan will get an easy lead, and I think she wants further, and she probably proved that last time where she did see it out well. She's related to, or she's from the family of US Navy flag and roly-poly who won on this course, so I'm a little bit concerned about her. But I think Isabella Giles at 3.0 is worth a play, with the hope that the rain's going to come, because I think she'll go. That I think she will be popular. And I was so taken with what she did with cutting the ground last time. If she does get her ground, I think I could see her going on favourite. So I thought it was more of a sort of possible trading angle. If if you think the rain's going to come, which I do, and we're going to be racing on good to soft at best, that's sort of what I'm hoping on. So it could be, if they don't get any rain by 2 o'clock, it's going to be a bad day. But there you go. Let's move on to the 3:35, the Joel Stakes, the Joel Stakes. Sam knows that I'm the cheerleader for the Ben Battle fan club, so I won't bore you with any of that. But I would just say I am terrified of the rain coming. I think he might still run, but he's never been at his best on soft ground. And that's a big old worry for me. Otherwise, if it was good ground, I'd be all over him, getting a pound off Kamiko and winning this. But it would be I'd be on weather watch. Adele, you give us your thoughts on this one.
Well, I suppose they're running out of time now, aren't they, with Ben Battle to run him? So, like you say, they might probably have to. But Kamiko is in my tracker for when he drops back to a mile. So he's at a track where he broke the track record. Ben Battle, of course, won last year by 5 lengths or something. I don't think he's going to win by that kind of margin at all this year if he was to, with Kamiko in the race, who he doesn't stay further than a mile. So I think the drop back to what I think is his optimum trip, I think will help him get his head back in front tomorrow. I think they'll be very disappointed if he doesn't. And
if it is soft ground, with that, he's never run on it, but I suppose there's nothing to indicate that would be a negative for him necessarily. Is that a worry for you?
No, because he ran at York, and although he didn't stay, he seemed to handle the ground. He's a very athletic horse, and I can't see why he'd be versatile ground wise. I think the main factor for this horse is the fact that he's back to a mile.
They're both. They can't really split them at the moment. Both about 3.25. For you, he should be clear favourite. Is that fair to say, Kamiko?
I think so, yeah. I think. Well, I thought he would be. Of course, Ben Battle won the race last year, but this will be his first start this season. I think was he last seen in February, was it? So he'll be fit. He'll be fit anyway. But I just think Kamiko, he's a really he's a class animal. I think the mile shows his true colours at a track, especially at a track where he broke the track record as well. He handles it perfectly well.
Sam, can you split the top 2 in the betting, or are you looking elsewhere?
I think it's very difficult, Tom, and I do think the rain will have a bearing. I'm not sure Kamiko would really want a little bit of dig in the ground underneath. It might just blunt his speed a little bit. But as apparently Nick Luck had Andrew Balding on his podcast this morning, obviously an inferior podcast, but he did have him on his podcast this morning. And I don't think Andrew was too concerned what the ground conditions were going to be like. But, obviously he's American bred. You'd think a decent terrain would be ideal for him, really. Out of the two, I'll probably just fancy Kamiko. He's tried more trips than Judith Chalmers, hasn't he, the last 6 months? He's been a mile and a quarter, a mile and a half, a mile. What is he? He's been... And to be fair to Andrew Balding, circumstances have dictated that in a lot of respects. But I thought he ran really well at York. I want to see him back at a mile. It's the scene of his greatest venture, and I'll give him a chance to sort of relive those moments. I think if he did absolutely hose down, I do think Top Rank is a big player each way, because he'll appreciate the cut on the ground. He's already won at the track, and we don't quite know how good he could be. I think we know how good Ben Battle and Kamiko could be, but we don't really know exactly yet how good Top Rank could be. And I love the way that he just grounded out at Haydock on soft ground, but I just wonder whether the other two will have a little bit too much toe for him if it was just decent ground.
And I'm going to sit it out until we know what the ground's doing. So there we are. That's the 3:35 at Newmarket. As I say, they can't really split the top 2 in the betting, and Top Rank's next in, around about 5.0, but in the place market if you fancy him. I mean, you get top 3 on that, so you'd be getting your money back on the place market if you back that horse and he finishes finishes 2nd or 3rd. Best bets for Friday. Again, it can be here or anywhere else. Sam,
I'll stick with Alba Rose, just because she's a decent price. She's only got 4 to beat, and I don't think we've seen the best of her yet. I think there could be a lot more to come. So I think she should be a bit closer in the market to 1 or 2 at the head of the market. So I'll take a chance with her at double figures.
Yeah, around that 12.0 in the Rockfel. Adele?
Do you want my best bet? Or anywhere on Saturday, I'm going to go up to Newcastle. Then there's a filly running called Bollin Margaret. She's half sister to Bollin Joe. Tim Easterby trains her, and he's got his stable in fine form. I think he's had 12 winners or something in the last 2 weeks. But she relished to step up to 12 furlongs last time out, and she runs in a filly's handicap up there, and I think that she's got a very good chance. I presume she's favourite for that.
I'm just trying to see if I can get... I haven't got a market at the moment, but she is predicted to be in the betting forecast at around about 3.5. She's top weight, isn't she? David Allen under that penalty. Tim Easterby's flying at the moment. Air was ridiculous.
Flying. And do you know what he does? He buys a lot of horses that he's done well with the family. So he trained Bollin Joan, who won numerous races, and they're profitable horses to follow. What he seems to do with them is they'll win, a few races over a certain trip, and then isn't afraid to step them up, further, and they seem to progress each time. So she relished the step up last time out, and I think she's still unexposed at that trip. So I think she's 3 to 1. I don't think she's it's not a bad win price.
Yeah, she looks like she's going
to one to put in your lucky 15, I think.
These Bollin horses have been winning. Well, I had hair when
forever.
They first started winning.
Yeah,
they're absolutely incredible. Yeah. So,
and that lucky 15 that Adele mentions, if you want to do one across the weekend, you can do that on Matchbet with all those multiples available to you now. So all the regular multiples are there for you to do. If you want to, well, let's face it, just put Adele's in a lucky 15.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah, and the forecast and the don't forget the forecast in the Cambridgeshire.
To be honest, if it was good ground, I'd be taking the 2 of you on and having my best bet with them battle. But I don't think it's going to be. So it's going to be Isabella Giles in the Rockfel, my best bet for Clive Cox. That's it. We're done. Was that enough, Adele, as an introduction to the Matchbet Horse Racing Podcast?
Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, you kind of never know what to expect, do you, when you're doing something new for the first time? But it was good fun. I enjoyed it. It was great. Pleasure to work with you both.
May I compliment you on the background there, which looks like a beautiful, newly decorated.
Done with my bare hands.
Right.
Someone asked me what they. I had to do a little interview the other day, and they said, "Have you got any hidden talents?" And I was like, "Can I put down DIY? Because that's the only other thing that I do.
Amazing.
I'm just always decorating."
That is.
Is it a talent?
Yeah.
I need some help with that. Sam, God rest Diego. Goodbye.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's gone. We won't see him again. We'll see Sam again. And thanks to those of you for watching this and listening to this, if you are doing so via your preferred podcast app. That is it as far as Newmarket goes. Group racing and big field handicaps this weekend. Best of luck wherever you're playing. See you again soon. Bye for now.